All right. Hey, welcome. FinViz, they're at it again. And in terms of insider trading, I've done a video on my last one on insider trading, and I focused on Berkshire, Warren Buffett. But I just wanted to share this again of how fascinating this is for those that are looking for good setups. And let's let me just share with you how I found it, but then also how did I back my way into it in terms of spending probably 20 minutes of doing some homework for the fundamentals and the technicals. So let's hop in. So this is FinViz. This is their free version. And it's unbelievable how much information that FinViz provides. So up here, we've got the tabs, and I'm going to click on the Insider tab right here. So here we are. These are all the buys. And I clicked on, here's all the transactions. So here's the buys and the sells. I just clicked on the buys. And we've got the tabs latest insider trading on the left, top insider trading for the recent week, and then top 10% owner trading recent week. This is the one where I did the Berkshire. But for this one, as I was scanning through these, I found this ticker called ET. And the reason why I thought it piqued my interest is one, this chart just right here. I was like, okay, there's something interesting. But for those of you that may know, I've worked at IBM. I was there in 2014 as a consultant, hired as a W-2 in 2015. And when I was there, I led up the industrial sector here in North America. And underneath the industrial sector were four industries, and one of which was oil and gas. So I'm very familiar with this space. So energy transfer. And the person that I'm focusing on is the executive chairman. He made a purchase on May 22nd. And here is on May 23rd is the Form 4 that was filed with the SEC. So now what I wanted to do and by the way, I'm not familiar really with ET. When I was at IBM, I was working primarily with Schlumberger and ExxonMobil, companies like that, but ET never really came across my work stream. So now my first question is just curiosity. Who is this chairman of the board? Mr. Warren, born in 1955. He's 67, Texas, went to high school, White Oak High School in Texas, University of Texas at Arlington, and he is the chairman and CEO of Energy Transfer Partners. So I won't go into too much detail, but I wanted to share that. And then what I did is I just went to Energy Transfer's website to their leadership tab just to find out again a little bit more about Mr. Warren. And it looks like he's been in the industry for 40 years. And I won't go into too much of this, but this just helped me get a feel for who he is. And then this is his executive team, which we won't go into. But again, he is the executive chairman. And by the way, he bought 700 and for this purchase. Actually, I see another one. I didn't notice that. So for this particular purchase, he bought 750,000 shares at about $9.5 million. And then down here, he had another purchase on May 24th for almost 4.5 million. Missed this. You probably caught this one, but here's another one for 5 million. So all in, so let's call that 10 just for round numbers, 15 million. So almost $20 million last week he bought. So I am interested. Now, I thought I'd just start high level and let's just take a peek at what is the energy sector doing. So there's 11 total sectors. And on FinViz, by the way, this is for the free version as well, but the energy sector for one day performance down 2% 1 week is right here, almost down 1% 1 month. Bring it up the rear for the last 30 days, almost at negative 5%. And 3 month last 90 days, almost down 7%. And these could be good things. This is telling me like energy for the last half year, dead last at almost 12%. And then the 1 year for the last 12 months, it's down 6.5%. And then year to date, dead last, 7.5%. So what this tells me potentially is we could have a trend reversal because this sector has just been in a correction for the last 12 months based off what we're seeing here. So that's very interesting to me. Now let's just take a peek at this sector. So again, FinViz, this is free as well. So we are looking at the oil and gas, excuse me, this is the industry now, not the sector. So this is the oil and gas industry, excuse me. And I wanted to get a feel for who some of these companies are and where does ET stack up. Enbridge, again, according to market cap at 72 billion in Canada, number one. But right down here, number four is ET at 39 billion. So that gives me an idea in terms of the size and where they stack rank. And by the way, there are 56 total companies in this industry, and ET is in the fourth position. Now let's just dig into just the technicals. And this is what I love about FinViz. If you like trend following and trend lines and moving averages, again, I've got the free version, so I can't tailor this to how I like it. But what's really cool is that these charts come with the SMA, three SMAs, the 20, the 50, the 200, and then they've got these trend lines. So if you can see it, this purple line is the top and this kind of this faint bluish. So it looks like it's in this nice channel. So that tells me I'm interested. That's the daily. Now here is the weekly. So right here where my cursor is, if I look to the right, it looks like price action is above this key pivot. So that tells me we've got some support building. And then here is the monthly. And yeah, you know what I was alluding to when we were looking at the energy sector that we were bottoming, and this looks like it's in a bottoming formation. But what piques my interest here is, again, if you're a moving average fan, we've got a crossover of the 20 coming up through the 50. So that's a potentially a bullish scenario, but I'm definitely interested in terms of how the technicals are looking. So now I'm going to move to Fin, and this is, I'm pretty sure I'm on the free version as well. But the reason why I like Koifin for this right now is I really don't know who Energy Transfer is. So what I do is I will read this description. And this quickly tells me the Twitter version of who they are and what they're up to. But this company owns and operates around 11,600 miles of natural gas transportation pipeline and 3 natural gas storage facilities in Texas and 2 natural gas storage facilities located in the state of Texas and Oklahoma. So it looks like these guys are in the business of transportation for oil, natural gas, as an example. And then right down here on their EBITDA, the 5-year CAGR, so earnings before interest, tax depreciation, assets, and the 5-year CAGR, the cumulative average growth rate, which is like a batting average, higher the number the better. But they're forecasting for 5 years, so almost 13%. So that's very interesting. And then for their 1-year total return, they're up almost 24%. So that gives me a quick snapshot of who this company is and what they're up to. This is a snapshot or the key data, performance returns, valuation, analyst estimates. So this is looking at Energy Transfer at a 50,000 foot level. And I wanted to share a hack with you. So, if you're like me, sometimes I don't understand what some of these or any of these mean, these numbers. Here's a cool hack. Just take your mouse and copy everything as much as you can and copy it. And when I'm in GPT, what am I in? I'm in GPT-4. So that's the paid version. And I think 3.5 would do the same thing, and that's the free version. So my prompt is explain what this data is, why it's important, and then explain to me as if I am a 16-year-old male. See what it says. And the only reason why I am sharing this with you is, let's see what it kicks out here is, again, so if there's things you don't know, if you're like me, I don't really know a lot, so I spend a lot of time doing homework, and I'm so grateful about these new AI tools. But what it's doing is it's explaining to me what these metrics are as if I am, how old did I say? 15? Yeah, this is pretty cool. So here is the response, and whether you understand or if you don't, and I'll just focus on if you don't, then you can actually ask GPT to break this down and have it explain to you. Just tell it in the terms, just ask it to explain it to you in the terms that are most relevant to you in terms of your learning style, as an example. So I thought this was a cool hack. And the other thing you could do is just, hey, explain it to me as if I am a potential investor and showcase or highlight some of the strengths and or weaknesses. And again, I won't read that. So let's go back into Koifin. And this is another view that I like. These are the analysts. Love this page. But what's really cool is that according to Koifin, there's 16 analysts that are covering energy transfer. And of the 16, all 16 are either a buy or a strong buy. None are a hold, a sell, or a strong sell. So that's very interesting to me. And then here are the projected price targets from the analysts. Currently price is at $12, and on the low side, they're projecting 15. On the midpoint, 17, on the high side, 21. So very interesting. And then from a news standpoint, what I do is I'll just take a quick peek at some of the fundamentals and just get a quick feel of what is going on in the news. And by the way, over here on the right is May 24th down to May 4th. So this is a 20-day period, but you can see that there is quite a bit. And I can go back to April 5th of 2023. If there's anything, here's one. JP Morgan adjusts price target on energy transfer to 18, which is up from the $17 price target. And then here is the actual read itself if I wanted to dig in. So cool from the news, the fundamental front. Still in Koifin, and then what I love about this is that Koifin has the transcripts, say for these earning calls or any relevant discussions or meetings that the shareholders need to know about. And so for this particular one, I am in the Energy Transfer LPQ1 2023 earnings call, which took place on May 2nd. And then over here in the highlighter, you can just type in, I just typed in risk and there was one hit. So it says when, so not much there. So anyways, I would spend some time digging through the earnings call for Q1. Now I'm going to move into Google Bard. So for those of you that are familiar with Google Bard, this is also free. I think there's pros and cons to Bard versus GPT. But on this one, my prompt is, as I said, hey, describe this company, Energy Transports. And it gives me a quick kind of 411 on what they do. And this is what I thought was really cool about Bard, is that Bard does this better than GPT. So first of all, here's my prompt. I said, what's the method of transportation for energy transports? And please use pictures to illustrate. To my knowledge, when I asked that question to GPT, it does not do this. So what's cool is energy transports. We've got the pipeline, we've got rail, they transfer by truck, by barge, by ocean. So that was very interesting to me in terms of getting a quick feel in terms of what they do, which is transport, and then how they do it. And then I asked, I'm still in BARD, but I said, create a SWOT analysis for this company, Energy Partney. So it talked about their strengths, their weaknesses, their opportunities, and their threats. Threats, by the way, climate change, political instability, economic downturn, and natural disasters. One more, I'm still in BARD, and because ESG is a thing, and I alluded to this on my last video, Bloomberg is saying that by the year 2025, the ESG space will be $53 trillion. So that's something we definitely have to pay close attention to, in my opinion. And if we're looking for any like oil, gas, energy companies, ESG scores matter. And what's cool is, and I was surprised to see this, but their overall score is an 88 out of 100. And to put this in perspective, if I'm not mistaken, I think Microsoft has a score of 77, and Tesla, of all companies, last time I looked, that was hovering well below 50. So anyways, Energy Partners has a great, solid ESG score, so that should not compete against them. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move into TradingView. So if you look down here, these tabs are hot. So for 1 month, it's up almost 1%. For the last 6 months, it's up almost 2%. Year to date, 6% 1 year, you can see. And then for the last 5 years, it's been trending down. And then it says all time. Doesn't mean all time for the history, because I don't know how long whoever this data feed is, but this data feed goes back to 06. So anyways, since that duration, it's up about 120%. Still in TradingView, this was really cool. I had no idea about this, and this is very similar to the Koyfin analysts. So over here on the right here, analyst rating. So if we remember, Koyfin, I think, had 16 analysts, but here I wish I knew if these were the same similar analysts, but that's okay. But this one has one more analyst on the TradingView, so there's 17 total. And what I love is that they give you the projection. So this blue line chart is current price. So at time of recording, it's at $12.60, but they give you this future forecast, which I think is cool, especially on the eyes. So I got the low side of 15, the mid case of $17.33, and on the high case of $21 even. And then over here, it gives you a recommendation in terms of a strong sell, neutral buy. And according to this, it is in a strong buy, which I'm going to share in a second. And then down below, they've got the earnings per share, and you can go by annual or quarterly. So that was very telling to me. And then revenue, which is down here. And this, I'm just clicking on, yeah, here is annual. So when I look at this, that since 2020, it's been trending up nicely. I'll hop out of this, and this is also cool. And when I first saw these speedometers on TradingView 5 or 6 years ago, I was extremely skeptical, but I'm not anymore. And I'm going to share with you why. But first of all, let me just walk you through what this is. So first of all, we're still in, again, TradingView, energy transfer. And then they've got over here on the left. So this speedometer is for the oscillators. So that could be for like the RSI, stochastic, momentum, MACDs. Those are the oscillators. Then over on the right are the moving averages. And I love moving averages. And I'm going to illustrate a point when I share that chart of this ET. And I'll share with you what I mean. But up here is that you can go by the different time frames. So watch when I click this. So right now we're on the daily. When I click to the weekly, if we focus here on the summary, and by the way, I forgot to say this, the summary is the sum of oscillators and moving averages. I'll go back to the daily, but if you could keep an eye on this mid gauge. That barely moved a little. Now I'm going to click on the monthly. There it goes. Yeah. So on the monthly went from strong. So the weekly was a strong buy. Monthly is a buy. So all in all, it's great. And then also here it is down here. They've got the ratings. So 4 sell in the monthly, 4 sell, 1 neutral, 10 buy. And again, I know this may seem like there's no way. This is too good to be true. let me just share with you. So what I'm going to focus on the charts is really the moving averages, and you'll see why I actually believe that this is correct. I wouldn't suggest, though, this is the end all be all, but it sure is nice to see this. So far, I can see why this is a buy. Still in TradingView, and I'm almost ready here to get into a chart, but this is the news. Here's the one that I found and I read about JP Morgan, where they're upping the price recommendation, the target from $17 to $18. But here's a cool way to just scan the news slash fundamentals. Okay, here's the chart. So this is the entire history, and I am on TradingView again. And so Energy Transfers traded on the NYSE, and each one of these bars is monthly. I wanted to zoom way out so you can see what I was thinking. And I can see now why, boy, the chairman of the board is picking a savage buy, a very low risk trade setup. So if we zoom way out, like in this view, what I want to just call out is if you can see this trend line that we sitting right here that I found, and this dates back to 2011, and I could extend it to '07. But we've got, so right here, this price action stopped, and then price action fell below, and this thing's had an interesting ride. But it looks like, again, no guarantee, absolutely no guarantee, but this is in a ascending wedge. And from a probability standpoint, these have a higher probability of a breakout to the upside. And I love that there is support. And in all of these monthly candles, these are all very bullish candles. Most of these for the last few months are pinball candles, again, which are long tails. And again, these are very bullish. So I wanted to share the chart with you, and let's just zoom in. Let's go down to the weekly. By the way, what I did is this fib that you are looking at is I placed it right on this high back in June of 2020. The next major pivot low was on November of 2020, so that's where I placed it. And that gives us the fibs. And what I just think is amazing is how price respects fibs. And I can actually, so when I look at this, we got the 1.618 right here from an extension standpoint, and then we've got up here the 2.618. Now let's just get a feel for the strength. So you remember the moving averages? And here is one of my favorites, and it's a free indicator from TradingView. It's called the EMA SMA ribbon. And all this is moving averages. And the reason why I like it is it's just so easy on the eyes, and you don't have to overcomplicate it. But green, when price action is above and you see the green, we've got some strength. And again, I'm really oversimplifying. And then red means we are in a bearish corrective pattern, but you can see right here, we've got a lot of strength brewing. And if I were to compare this section right here to, get my crosshairs. So when I compare this section right here where it's turning green, and there's just building a ton of momentum and strength to support the chairman of the board's decision to spend, what did we say, almost $20 million last week? But the reason why I'm calling this out is because what this reminds me of is right down in here. And if we look up and to the right, this is potentially what is to come. So a lot of strength. Yeah, well, let's just turn what most people are familiar with, and that is the Bollinger Bands. Let me get rid of the moving average. Okay, and I think I forgot to mention this, but these candles are weekly now. So we originally went from the monthly to weekly. And then what I did is I overlaid it with the Bollinger Bands. And the timing or the time frame on the Bollinger Bands, it's a monthly time frame. So it's hard to see. Actually, you know what I'll do is I will turn on, let's get some background go. Yeah, see if that helps. Okay. So again, we've got a multi-time frame situation going on. Weekly candles, monthly Bollinger Band. And if you notice this mid green line, that's the mid band. Okay. So price action right now is above the mid band. So what this tells me is, let's say that price action falls out of this ascending wedge, which it totally could. But this mid band tells me that this horizontal support that literally goes back to '07, from a risk reward standpoint, we've got a high probability of a nice setup to the upside with very low risk. Like we could literally place our stop just below this mid band. And if we're stomped out, we just lost a little. Okay, so price action with the monthly Bollinger Bands looks great. And I'm going to take that monthly down to a weekly. So here's the weekly bands. And a couple things I'm noticing is the bands are squeezing. And what that tells me is, if you're familiar with Bollinger Bands, when you see the squeeze taking place, that means there's volatility. What it does not tell us is when there's volatility coming, which direction. But what this is telling me is that we've got some volatility coming soon. And then based off of the technicals and the patterns, it's a high probability to the upside. So that's cool. Last thing is, let me turn off the bands and let's turn on this volume profile, which I also like. And so for those of you that are familiar with these volume indicators and these volume nodes, so we've got price action right here, and it is literally, this is the last hurdle. I call this like the wall of worry. So we got through this chunk, we got through this chunk, and now we're going through this guy. And then once we get up in here, this is clear airspace. So when I see these volume nodes right here and here, which are much smaller than the one that we're just trying to fight through now, but what this tells me is that this validates to me that because we've got clear airspace, that again, high probability to the upside and low risk to the downside. So I absolutely love this indicator. So I think so far the chairman of the board has made a savage buy. And just to put this in perspective, let's see how much from a measured move. And if I take this to the next volume node, that's about a 35% move. And I think the analysts, I think what JP Morgan said it's to 18. Yeah, so $18, right? So I can't get it. 17.91, close enough. But let's just call it, here it is, 39% move from where price action is currently at time of recording. So the chairman of the board looks like he's going to make about 39, 40% off of that, what, $20 million move. Okay, so if I had to make a decision today, if I was going to consider buying, this is not financial advice, but I very much would. Now I want to share with you one more thing though, because I'm still a Bitcoin fan. And why is that? That's because I've been comparing Bitcoin to all of the other global asset classes and some individual stocks as an example. So what are we looking at here? I am comparing energy transport versus Bitcoin. So again, this is ET versus Bitcoin. So this is clearly in a downtrend. And by the way, this up top is back in 2011. So plenty of history, but you can see that Bitcoin has just been massively outpacing ET. Not saying that ET is a bad buy by any stretch, not by any stretch, but if you had to compare the two classes together, Bitcoin is clearly the winner. But now let's take a look at Bitcoin versus ET. So this is BTC USD versus ET, and clearly a much different scenario than ET versus BTC. This is clearly, whoops, I'll just use this. in a uptrend. Not too sure how I got that drawing tool, but that's okay. All right, so let's get rid of these arrows, and I want to share with you what I am seeing. So now, let's get this centered. So these are weekly time frames, but if I had to just from a technical standpoint, from just some basic support and resistance. I love that support right there. Textbook. Wow, textbook. And what do I mean by textbook? For those of you that are familiar with these retracement levels for fibs, the key two retracement levels, in my opinion, are the 0.618 and the 0.786. But you can see that this 0.618, the golden zone, fix this, make sure this is precise. Yeah, but you can see the 0.618, and this is where price action started to bottom out. So this to me looks like the bottom in late, so like December of 2022. And then right now, price action is running on the 0.5. 0.5 is not a fib, but it's resting on the fib or on this 0.5, and it looks like it's flagging. I won't go into too much detail, but because I'm trying to dissect this chart, but from a macro level, again, if you had to pick, if you're chasing yields as an example, Bitcoin, if you had to pick, Bitcoin by far is the fastest horse in the race. Now, for some of you that you don't believe in cryptos, or if you want to try to hedge as an example, because like the energy sector as a whole, that too is also in a very bullish formation. Again, if you're looking for a hedge or whatever, ET is a great buy. But Mr. Kelsey Warren right here, he is going to make a nice chunk of money off of his, what did we say? There was 3 or 4 purchases that summed up to about $20 million. And if Goldman Sachs is correct in raising their target from $17 to $18, Mr. Kelsey Warren's going to make a nice about almost 40%. So anyways, hey, I hope that was helpful, and it's just such a cool hack on how to find these insider buys. They really are sticky buys. All right, thanks so much for staying to the end, and we'll talk later.